Today we're going to be talking about some of the exercises that you can do at home to help yourself limber up in the saddle, as well as work on building up some of your riding muscles. We all know that there's no substitute for saddle time, but there are still things that you can be doing to help your body out so that when you get back in the saddle, it doesn't feel quite so foreign. So we're going to be going over some stretches that you can be doing, and then we'll go into some general workout ideas. So to do these, you can use a yoga mat, or you can just be on the floor. Either one is fine, but we're going to start with a yoga pose called the cat-cow. So for that one, you are going to think about rounding up your back like a cat, really pulling up through your spine, lifting your back, lifting up through the shoulders. And then for cow, thinking about a nice back extension as you drop your back, but be careful not to let go of your stomach muscles, that we're still keeping everything in line. And back up for cat. And back down for cow. If you're feeling a little tight through your back after this one, this was a great time to go ahead and do a little stretch there. The next thing that you're going to do is downward dog. So you're going to come up on your toes and think about stretching back into those heels. You should be feeling stretch back through your hamstrings, pulling in tight in your abs. This is a great stretch for a lot of us riders are tight through our hamstrings. This is where we get trouble putting our heels down. And then from there, you can move into your standing forward fold. You're going to bend your knees, keep your toes in line, and then back up. Keep pulling into your spine so your back is nicely rounded, and back down, and then back up. So those are some back warm-up exercises to start with. And then we're going to go ahead and move into some stretches that are going to work on the hips. So we are going to do a Piriformis stretch. You can either do this one, I do a lot, you can even just do it at the barn when you get there and come across. And you should get a bit of a stretch here. The other one you can see, you just see from the side, you're pulling into your core and kind of sinking down through your back and your seat, allowing that stretch. You can do that same exercise here on the mat with pigeon or eye of the needle, where you bring yourself and you go with what feels comfortable to you. So some days you might feel like you can bring that front leg a little bit more forward. Other days you might feel like it needs to be a little further back. And you're going to try and sink down a little bit toward that leg, feeling a bit of a stretch. And then you're going to come out of it and do the other one. And then after that, you can go ahead, if you're feeling tight, go back into another child's pose. And then from here, we're going to go into some lunges. So you're going to think about in your lunge, pulling up with your core, keeping your abs engaged, pressing into that front heel. We should be getting a stretch right along here. And then from there, you can go ahead and stretch back. You should be feeling a stretch through here as well. Making sure that you're still keeping that core engaged. You don't want to allow yourself to shift from side to side. And then again, same thing on this side. Forward lunge. Pressing into that heel. Stretching back. That. And then another good hip opener one is one that I call the butterfly, where you're going to put your heels together And then everyone's going to have different levels of what they feel comfortable with. So especially if you have ankle issues or anything like that, even if you start up here and just kind of use your elbows to kind of help lightly press into your legs to kind of encourage that stretch. As you get more comfortable, you'll be able to drop down further, and then you might even be able to get a little bit harder and bring your legs a little closer together for a deeper stretch here as well. And then from here, and take one leg in, one leg out to the side for a stretch. If you want to amp it up, you can also get the stretch going through your side. And then go ahead and change. So those are some great exercises that you can do before you ride. If you are just at the barn and you don't have the luxury of maybe being on a mat or laying on the floor, there are a couple other things that you can do to help yourself warm up. So you can do your lunges standing, right? You can also, if you really want to test yourself with that core, do your reverse lunge. You can also, for your calves, a lot of people tend to, without even realizing it, walk on their toes, and even to get a greater degree of stretch through your hamstrings, you can practice walking heel down, and that will help with the lengthening there. Another thing that you can do is toes up and down, getting that, warming up the legs a little bit. If you have a stair at your barn or a step, you can put the balls of your feet on the step and allow your heels to drop down, and that would be a good stretch for your hamstrings as well. If you are tight through the back, obviously doing the cat-cow one is good, but you can also do some torso rotations. So we can also take ourselves through our shoulders like this, pulling in this way, and also go down and do a little bit of a stretch here. Anything that we can to loosen ourselves up and get the blood pumping. Another one that I like, I have a lot of issues with hips and lower back, but warrior is a good one. And then if you want another stretch, down, back up, keeping that core engaged. And back up. So those are just a couple of ideas on stretches and warm-up exercises that you can do on the ground. We'll be doing another video where we'll go over some exercises that you can do for balancing and suppling as a rider in the saddle. We're going to be going over a few other additional exercises that you can do out of the saddle using some resistance bands. So for this particular one, I have a resistance band that's closed. You can also take one and just tie the ends together to make one that will be looped around. So this one I'm putting kind of above my ankles here. And one of the exercises that you're going to do is going to be the crab walk, okay? This is great for working those inner thighs, the core, the seat, and just balance too. So for this one, you're going to start on a small squat. I usually put my hands together. Pull your core in. You should be thinking about engagement all the way up through the upper abs, similar to what you'll be doing for posting at the trot. And then you're going to sidestep 1 foot at a time. It's not about how fast you go, it's about the quality of your position. And go as far out as you want to go and step back through. This particular resistance band, I can do pretty wide steps with it because it's not super thick. Different strengths, you're going to not have as wide of a step, and that's okay. Go with what feels comfortable. Again, so you're holding your position. All right. The next one that we're going to do is we're going to take this resistance band up above my knees, and we're going to do squats, okay? We're going to modify it slightly for this particular one because I want you to do what I call more equestrian squats. So I don't want you to think about going down quite as far. All right, I want you to think about it almost as if you were going to do like your 2 points. So you're going to slide the hips back and keep more of that core engaged. And you can do this here if you want to work on more of your riding muscles in your lower leg position. Think about turning your toes out about 45 degrees and doing that same thing. You can also practice it with allowing your hands to go forward. So you're doing your release. Okay, so that would be working on your 2 point. And again, keeping your core engaged so we're not arching that lower back. Keep your eye up and practice. You should start to feel, especially with the help of the resistance band, you should start to feel a little bit more in the inner thighs as well there. Now another one that you could do, which is regular squats, just to build up, strengthening all the muscles. With the resistance band again, you can go ahead and squat, and then step, squat, step, squat. For this particular one, you're going to be doing more of what we call a sumo squat, where your legs are going to be farther apart. You're getting a deeper squat, pulling up into your core as you stand up, bringing your feet together, keeping that core engaged as you drop down again. So those are a couple of options with your resistance band. Now we're going to show you a couple of exercises that you can do to really focus on strengthening your core. So you'll need your yoga mat for this or a comfortable spot on the floor. And we're going to start with some bridges. So to do your bridges, you want to make sure your heels are firmly planted on the ground. Back is flat. So you want to think about pulling into your core, belly button to spine. So your back is flat against the floor, right? Relax the shoulders down away from the neck. And then engage those abs and lift. And then pull the belly button back down to the spine on the way down. So you go up, and engage on the way down. So you think about kind of tucking your seat underneath you when you come back down. All right, after some bridges, you can do, if you want to get even a little bit more into the core, you can get your side here, you can stay flat, reach, you get into the obliques, so you're going to try to keep core engaged, away from the shoulders, reaching this way. And then another one you can do is what I call the ab bicycle. So you're going to support your head with your hands, but try not to pull on your head so you're not straining your neck. Bring your legs up, and then going to go and touch elbow towards your leg. Toes up, heel down for full engagement. And then another one you can do is support your hands underneath your seat, pull that belly button in, and you're going to bring your legs straight up and lift, and down, and lift, and down. Control on the down. And that one's like about a reverse crunch. Another exercise you can do would be a butterfly. You're going to bring one leg up and then switch. This is also sometimes called scissors. Thinking about pulling into the core, keeping that leg extended, trying not to let yourself buckle in the knee, and breathing. We're going to be showing you some exercises that you can do at home if you have a stability ball. A stability ball can also be called many other terms, such as a yoga ball, Swiss ball, balance ball. They all mean the same thing. As far as what size ball to get, you would want to use 65 to 75 centimeters if you're 5'5" and under. And then you would want to do 75 to 85 if you are up from 5'5" to 5'10". If you're taller than 5'10", you would want a ball that's greater than 85 centimeters. What you're looking for is, this is my student Elizabeth is demonstrating here, that when you're sitting on the ball, you have a straight line from your hip down to your knee and then down here. So you're even on the ball and you're at a good height there for that 90-degree angle. And then as far as exercises, the first thing we're going to be doing is working on skills that you can be doing to duplicate your riding as if you were riding your horse, as if you were sitting in the saddle. So the first thing Elizabeth is going to demonstrate is a walk. So she's going to bring her leg back a bit as if she were riding the horse, and you see how she has a nice straight line, shoulder, hip, almost heel in alignment. If this feels easy at any point, you can take a book or two and stack it under your shoe so that you would have your toes up a little bit more for a little extra stretch. But we'll be starting like this for today. So Elizabeth's going to go ahead and walk. And you can see how she's following with her arm, following with her feet, but keeping her shoulders steady. She's not resisting the movement, but she's not hunching them and following. And then go ahead and halt. And there you can see how she stilled her body, didn't let anything collapse, and then walk again. And then was able to resume that following very easily. So this is a great one for body awareness and core stability. And then Elizabeth is going to go ahead and show us walking a circle to the left. So here she's thinking about stretching up, lifting, using her obliques. And you can see this is a great one to test. Sometimes we want to collapse in a little with the knee and the thigh, or shift our weight from one seat bone to the other. So once she's done walking her circle to the left, she'll go straight, and then she'll do her circle to the right to test herself and see if everything feels even, or if she gets a little bit of a shift one direction or the other. And then Elizabeth will come back to being straight. Good. And then Elizabeth, you can go ahead and pick up your posting trot when you're ready. So for this one, it's thinking about you're not necessarily having to leave the ball with your feet, but finding that balance where your shoulders and hips stay in alignment with your heels, so you're not rocking on your toes, and you're using that core. Here you can see Elizabeth really doing a good job of following with her arms, so that as she goes up, those hands go forward, and as she sits, the hands go back. Especially when you're first starting out and you're riding, this is a great one to practice because it tends to be a little bit difficult to get those two timings down. Good. And then Elizabeth's going to go ahead into our sitting trot. And this one's a little bit tougher to duplicate, but you want to think about how you would absorb that horse's motion, to bounce a little bit, absorbing it with your hips. So you're following in a little left hip, little right hip, allowing that, and then practicing following with that arm as well. Good. And then you can walk. And then we're going to go ahead and go into the canter. So this one you want to think about following with your hip, following hands. That's good there. Good. And again, if this feels easy, you can start to stack the books a bit so you're not so much on your toe. You can practice getting that depth of heel and that core engagement. And then back to halt. Good. And then another one that you can practice is your 2-point position. So you want to think about having that nice soft fold in your hip angle. The arm out in front of you is straight back. The shoulders are back without arching the lower back. And she's got good connection with the ball in terms of her thigh and her calf. And then she'll sit back down, finding that balance again, not rocking forward or back. Some other exercises that you can do on your stability ball that won't necessarily mimic the riding, but will still be very effective in building the riding muscles, include pelvic rotations. So So here Elizabeth's going to go with her hands on her hips, and then she'll start with rotating her pelvis clockwise a couple of times, and what you're doing is looking for that balance, again, keeping that core stability and feeling comfortable with that rotation. And then she'll go counterclockwise as well to test that and make sure that feels stable. Good. And then another one that you can do is a one-leg lift. So one leg at a time, breathing and staying tall through your abs. You want to think about lifting that leg. It doesn't have to be very far off the ground, but trying to find that stability, that you're not shifting off from left to right, but that you're staying really engaged. And then you want to think about letting that leg go down and testing your other one. Yep. Good. And then you might notice that one seems more stable than another, and then you would want to do more repetitions on the side that's a little bit weaker. Then the next one that we're going to do is the balancing on the ball without having your feet on the ground. So this one is a more advanced move, and you want to be careful about this. You might not hold it for very long. You might just take your feet off the ground a little bit. But finding that evenness, this is the ultimate control in terms of the hips, the core, that alignment, and then you can relax. So those are some examples of exercises that you can be doing at home or at the barn if you have a ball out there to help with getting those riding muscles a bit stronger.